One question I've been asked a million times, what's Jeremy Clarkson really like? Second most asked, what's the best handling car of all time? 458. This is what Ferrari does best, mid-engine sports cars. It's what they're known for. Nobody does it like Ferrari. The lineage of Ferrari's mid-engine machines got into its stride with the 360 before they seemed to reach the pinnacle in the 430 Scuderia. You could drive the Scud like a go-kart, and the linear power from the V8 combined with ballistic gear changes made you feel like a fighter pilot on full send. But this is the 458 Speciale! 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. That's 0.4 seconds faster than the original. It wasn't like the original really needed improving on, but Ferrari did it anyway. Speciale gave the 458 the 2 Christmas gifts it really wanted: less weight and more power. The 458 really marks the end of an era for Ferrari because it's their last naturally aspirated V8 mid-engine car before they went turbo, hybrid, etc. That largely happened because of the battle with McLaren when the MP4 12C came out with its turbocharged V8 and just pipped Ferrari's power output. Arguably a slightly faster car. But with the Speciale, Ferrari had the last word because they increased the power output from 562 brake horsepower to 597, and that was just 5 horsepower more than the McLaren. Looks-wise, the 458 wins from every angle. From the rear, it's all business, and unlike some other brands that went for the multiple anus look, this one retains its dignity. And from the front, with its wide hips and sultry eyes, you know you're in love at first sight. Not everyone was an instant fan of the Speciale, with the Top Gear magazine commenting that it didn't quite have the Porsche GT3 RS's level of commitment. Are you having a laugh? This thing's nuts. On the track, this thing is so focused. The V8 is so responsive and linear, it's just perfect. So you've got this precise tool, surgical precision. Every millimetre of throttle can be corrected with the steering as you brake traction. You get this incredible feel with the tail. You become one. This car fits you like a glove. It really is like a piece of clothing, and because you're sitting in the centre with the engine just behind you, that weight is perfectly positioned. The balance of this car, from the aerodynamics and the weight transfers it allows you to dictate as the driver, is what makes it such a perfect driving machine. Sorry, this is the most uncompromising and best handling car of all time, and I dare anyone to take to this thing and say otherwise. In terms of traction, what really happens after this car is a different story. You get into turbocharging and hybrids, and the Manatino system that's on this machine, you can switch off the traction control and survive to tell the tale. You get into something really meaty like the SF90, and the performance is so outrageous, and the power output through those turbos, you really are better off driving with the traction control systems on at all times. Arguably, this car is faster with the traction control turned on. They've measured that at Fiorano. This car laps Fiorano circuit 1.5 seconds faster than the Enzo. It's just mind-boggling. The 430 Scuderia was an animal, a guttural beast. Had machine gun-like gear changes. It just really was an awesome bit of kit. And that really got superseded when the 458 came out. He just thought, this car doesn't need a special or a Stradale. It's just awesome, but they did it with this car. And the Speciale, it just doubles down the power output and the grip from these Michelin Sport Cup 2 tyres, once they're warmed up, is phenomenal. The high level of grip that you get from these tyres and the slightly more aggressive suspension setup means that when you do lose grip, it's going to happen a little bit faster. But being a mid-engine Ferrari, you know that this car is going to catch you. And the 458, for me, was practically unspinnable, even with the traction control turned off. If you knew what you were doing, you knew what you were doing with the controls. The car just talks to you all the time, and because you're sitting in the centre like this, you really feel master of all controls, and nothing really takes you by surprise. The beauty of a modern Ferrari like this as well is that you get the performance packed to the gunnels with reliability because they've done so much endurance testing. I bumped into Raffaele De Simone, Ferrari's test driver at Goodwood some years ago. He looked absolutely knackered, big bags under his eyes. And I said, Rafa, why do you look so tired? He said, Stiga. Rafa's Italian, obviously. He said, we're doing durability testing on the new car. I said, how much does that involve? 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We drive the car until it breaks, then we develop it and we drive again. And that is what makes these cars so durable. You can just drag them, track, roads, long distance, and that performance is there, and it's something you can believe in. The engine is so robust, the brakes, the suspension, the chassis. We only made 499 of these cars. They really are special. Only 49 for the UK. We were lucky to get them here, and they don't come up for sale very often. Definitely it's a sort of buy and keep type of car, but they've got to be driven. You've got to get them out there. They do occasionally come up for sale. This one is currently on for sale with Prestige Performance Collection. Click on the link in the description if you're interested. You may be fast though, because I'd love one of these things. Another hotly debated subject among journalists is the paddle shift. Some preferring it on the steering wheel, and others, like myself, quite liking it fixed to the helm. When you get your arms crossed up and out of control, you always know where the gear lever is. And a racing car on a racetrack, when you don't tend to get crossed up very often, sure, get the paddles on the wheel, kind of where they belong in a racing car, but this is not a racing car. Some of Ferrari's performance models can be really Spartan in the cabin. You end up with those racing harnesses, which I'm not a fan of in a road car. I think the nice thing about the 458 is it does still feel like a road car with a standard harness here. The bucket seats, they're not too basic, they're not primitive. So they hold you in the chair, so you're not falling around when you're doing some spirited cornering, but they don't ache. You feel pretty comfortable in this. It's a good ergonomic position to be in the car, and the footwell as well. You get in something like an F40 and your feet clunk into the deck, and the Enzo is very, very basic. This one, the Speciale, they haven't gone too far with that, so it doesn't feel too Spartan inside. It feels like something you can still use on a daily basis without getting tired of it. Turn up looking like you're not a racing driver, actually out in a normal car doing some normal business. This car just loves the revs. Tops out at 9,000 RPM, 9,000, which is just beautiful. The V8, absolutely wonderful. The only thing that comes close to this is a V10 Screamer, but this thing with the torque and drivability is just beautiful. So versatile, with plenty of torque where you need it. And the insanity of the gear change, this 7-speed box, just instantaneous. Just wreak havoc in the gears. Get the hammer down. The electronic differential is also a revelation for the 458. It applies the power intelligently across the rear axle, and combined with the slip angle control of the Manettino system, it means you can push the car to the limit without getting bogged down by traction control or frightening yourself and having gravy run down the inside of your trouser leg. And I'm surprised actually that with all that power and these aluminium exhausts, that actually it's not noisier in the cabin. It isn't too bad. You got that beautiful sound, but it's not overwhelming. So actually, the driving experience is enjoyable. You don't feel like you're in a racing car. A little bit of squeaks from the brakes there, but it is a road car. It's designed to be used on the street without being a pain. And it definitely delivers that in the way the 458 was known for. Amazing on track, but also something you could drive around daily without getting tired of it.